Okay, so I'm just an idiot.
Sure, but that's why, it's crypto basic and not crypto, advanced.
Yeah, we would be fired from Crypto Advanced.
Yes, we would definitely have gotten Fs.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Crypto Basic Podcast. It's Flagship Friday, and it's time for Brent Philbin and Adam Levy, who is joining me.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
Yes, Adam Carlos Levy has joined me on this episode. Kareem is in a tournament or something in Vegas. I suspect this is going to happen a couple times over the course of the summer. Like either you or Kareem are going to be in something. Luckily, I'm broke, so I'm not going to Vegas and playing in any tournaments, although I did last week and then got strep throat for it. So anyway.
Sounds about right, Vegas.
Yeah, I might hate Vegas now. I don't know. The flagship episodes where we discuss all the news, current events, and goings on in the cryptocurrency community for the week. We were founded here at the Crypto Basic Podcast to give the crypto community a place to learn about their favorite projects from a perspective that doesn't require technical knowledge or any deep understanding of mathematics or crypto or any of that stuff. We keep it basic, y'all. Today's Friday, June 14th, and it is our 76th Friday in a row without missing one. I mean, although technically last week was released on Saturday, it was recorded in time. It just wasn't really released in time. So I'm counting that as a not missed Friday.
It was a good one, too. I feel like me and Kareem went pretty deep in thinking about postulating. Look at that big word. About Facebook.
Postulating.
Yeah, and how big of a deal this is, with the coin. Actually, what's funny, I think that got announced like when we did it, so it worked out perfectly.
So, interestingly enough, I write all the random copy that we have on all the posts and stuff like that, right? So, when we post our actual podcast, whatever's written there is what I wrote. Well, I was dying from strep throat. I get strep throat like once a year, and it's always really bad. Like, it always knocks me off my feet. So, I just looked at the topics, and I saw Facebook, and I was like, okay, I'm sure they talked about Facebook for a while and talked all kinds of shit about Facebook. So I wrote like the copy as if you guys were saying bad stuff about Facebook. And then when I listened to the episode, Kareem was like, yeah, I kind of hate Facebook, but you didn't really say that much bad about the project.
Not at all. It didn't really make any
sense.
I mean, if anything, this is very good for the space in general, even if Facebook might do more Facebook stuff and have all of a sudden have a big market share of everything again.
What I will say is if they're going to open source it, I'm kind of okay with it because then people will pick it apart. But if we have to trust them in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to be shouting from the rooftops to get out of here.
Yeah. Now to the rapid fire.
Wait, hold on.
No.
Housekeeping here.
Sorry, my bad.
We always like to talk about what shows we've released, what's coming up. We didn't release anything this week. I got sick, and really up until maybe 2 days ago, I was basically incapacitated. Maybe 3 days ago. Like the day that I did my first of the 2 interviews that I recorded this week was the day that I was basically finally feeling better. I was so scared because I canceled on both of those interviews that I did this week when I got the nose surgery. And they took this long to reschedule, and I was worried that they weren't going to reschedule. But we didn't release anything this week. But next week we have sponsored content, which I know sounds like, oh no, sponsored content, I hate that. Look, I turn down 99% of sponsored content. I'm not kidding. Like, they offer us money all the time, all these random scam companies. I won't take a sponsored content episode unless it's worthwhile. So we're talking to the CEO of the Ember Fund. They are a non-custodial fund management for cryptocurrency. So they don't have that issue of they're holding your money in a hedge fund. What happens? And it's a pretty interesting layout. So that's going to be released either Monday or Tuesday. Look for that. Depends on when it gets edited. And then I also had a chat, which turned into a 101 with the CTO of IOST. The IOST project has been kind of clamored for by our listeners for a long time. And we've had that scheduled kind of on the books. That is not sponsored. They did not compensate us in any way for that episode. That is just a 101 that we wanted to reach out to the community for. So those 2 are coming up next week, along with another flagship.
Did you go pretty deep into the technical side? I mean, with the CTO, I assume that, certain types of people, it's just with the technical, you can go pretty far into a lot of things like the nerd shit that everyone kind of likes sometimes.
It's a full hour episode, and their blockchain is built off something called proof of believability. So it's a completely interesting mechanism. So we definitely went real deep onto what that is, how it works, and
that's
why
not
it works.
Fake
and
news.
That kind of
That's a real. That's proof
legit
of believability.
what their thing is called.
Okay.
So if you want to find out more, tune in next week. And now it's time for the rapid fire section. Adam, I think you should handle this because they're already sick of hearing my voice. Why don't you read off the rapid fire section?
Speaking of being sick of things, Facebook.
Oh, we can talk about Facebook.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So actually, yet again, this isn't necessarily anything negative about them because ultimately Uber, MasterCard, Visa, and other big companies such as like Booking.com are going to support its new cryptocurrency. And I think that's pretty cool right away. I mean, almost, yeah. So they announce it next Tuesday, June 18th, correct? Yeah, so they announced it next Tuesday. And I saw Charlie Shrem saying it's Facebook Libra, the Libra coin. I don't know how.
Yeah, they changed the name to Libra now. Well, or it never was Global Coin or whatever they were trying to say.
I don't think
before.
it ever was Global Coin. That just seemed like some weird, yeah. But I mean, Libra seems kind of sleek and nice, and it's got a good name. But yeah, it's good to see that all those companies getting on board. This means we could be getting integrated with cryptocurrency in our everyday lives very quickly.
Maybe. I don't know how this is going to play out. What they're saying basically is all of those companies have pledged to pay the $10 million required to be a node, which is reasonably still centralizing this whole thing. You know, I'm waiting for more real details to be leaked before I go crazy. But here's the thing. I see Facebook and I see evil. Like, I just see something I don't want anything to do with. Like, they have too much power. They have not used it responsibly, and they are not run by somebody with a moral compass. So I am worried about anything that they have control over. So if they do produce something decentralized that they just happen to want to use with their application, and we can prove that it's decentralized, not decentralized in the way that Bitcoin may be. Like, if these 5 people control the blockchain, that's not decentralized. At least with Bitcoin, the miners could change different pools and stuff like that. But I'm incredulous. If I was on last week's episode, I would have, been a little bit more of that devil on the shoulder. But so far, if they just end up creating a stablecoin and that's all it is, I can't really knock it. That's fine.
Yeah. We got a Brent saying Facebook is fine on the record.
I'll take anything over Tether.
Yeah, very true, which has been somewhat quiet. We haven't really heard much news from on the Tether front recently.
Yeah, ever since they finally said they weren't backed.
Yeah, maybe we should do a little Google next time and see if there's any news there. Because, I mean, just every week they were doing stuff. So the next is another big company, but probably a more favorable sentiment from Brent and I. Binance is actually launching a cryptocurrency exchange in US. They didn't give a date when it's happening, but it's with a FinCEN partner, registered partner. And I always forget I know what FinCEN is definitely dealing with, finances, but I forget what it stands for. But I know it's a very serious organization that you probably don't want to mess with. I actually think one time I was going to Bahamas and there were FinCEN agents that were there to count my money to make sure I was not taking over
10,000.
Yeah. And actually I was taking $25,000 to play in a poker tournament there.
If you declare it, it's fine. But if you don't tell them, then they'll steal that shit.
Yeah. I guess they're very into anti-money laundering, AML, and all of that. And yeah, so that's pretty cool that Binance, the company's called BAM Trading Service. I've never heard of them, but it's cool that they are registered with FinCEN already. And man, what do you think of Binance coming to the US in a legal fashion?
No, it's good. So at first, when you hear this, you're like, what are you talking about? Binance is coming to the US. Like, we've had Binance forever. I've used Binance. I use Binance every day. I'm a US customer. But you can't fiat onboard or offboard from Binance. That's the key. So if they've partnered with FinCEN, which is basically just the financial crimes division of one of the law enforcement agencies in the United States. So if they've partnered with somebody in there, some firm that's involved in that or something, then that means that they're basically working with somebody who's going to audit their AML, KYC, so that it's fine. And you will be able to, if you choose to do so, fiat with Binance, which would be very good. Binance actually has more volume than CoinMarketCap generally. Or I'm sorry, Coinbase generally. So it's going to be good for another option for US customers, especially if they make something as user-friendly as Coinbase and don't charge the massive fees that Coinbase charges.
Yeah. Also, just one other little tidbit is that people don't really know who BAM Trading, BAM, like all caps, trading services is. The company registered as a money services business with FinCEN, and the address is listed in California. So I think that the company can only really conduct business in Cali. I'm not sure how that's going to work in regards to Binance, maybe, but like it's definitely a start. So we'll see how this unfolds over the coming weeks.
My guess is they're probably like some sort of little startup or little consultation firm, and there's not much behind them other than somebody who's going to go in and tell them that they need to have certain know your customer laws. I mean, I feel like I would be qualified to do that with my casino training and what we've had to, what we know about MTLs and CTRs and all that stuff from inside of the casino with the Bank Secrecy Act. But yep, it's good to hear the Binance. Dude, we suck at rapid fire, by the way.
No, see, what we need to do is we need to sometimes just say this is a not so rapid fire, because I felt like this wasn't gonna be that rapid this time. We blew it.
Yeah, we fucked
Next
up.
time,
okay,
we'll learn.
Less rapid rapid fire. Binance come to US good. All right, that could have been summed up right there. Next is give us the next one.
All right, so the next one is Reuters and Bloomberg will soon provide cryptocurrency data. And they'll have access to the top 100 performing cryptocurrencies. And that's pretty cool. So yet again, it's just like some conventional trading services are now jumping on board with cryptocurrency. And
I could be a little bit an old man here, but I don't like Terminal. They are, if I understand it correctly, they're basically this service that you can pay a massive amount of money to be a part of that basically gives you the news before they release it to the general public. So it's like not really insider trading because technically you can pay a ton of money to get into it, but it is basically facilitating insider trading on anyone who doesn't have a spare 10 grand laying around that won't cripple their portfolio. But anyway, or whatever it is, I don't remember how much it is. It's a lot. Maybe there's something I'm not understanding about it, but whatever. I'll just be grouchy.
I just thought that Terminal, like when I read the article, I just thought Terminal just meant, hey, this is Ameritrade or something.
I'm confusing things.
Okay.
There's something called the Wire, I think. It's the Wire or the Terminal. Damn it. Okay, if it's just a word for like inside of the actual trading view, that's fine. If it's the word for you get the information for everybody else, I'm mad. I don't know.
No. I do not think it was that. I think it was just a word for, because it's not capitalized in the article or anything like that. It just says respective terminals, as in.
Okay, so I'm just an idiot.
Sure, but that's why it's crypto basic and not crypto advanced.
Yeah, we would be fired from Crypto Advanced.
Yes, we would definitely have gotten Fs. So yeah, I think that's cool. Just yet another small little thing that's allowing cryptocurrencies to be more palatable to the everyday trader. And yeah, I think that's about it for the not so rapid fire.
Wasn't quite so rapid.
No, would you like to start the next segment, the segment that you truly love? Bullish or bullshit, Brent? Well, you want to
bullish or bullshit? We have two bullish or bullshits this week, Adam.
Wow.
This is going to be our first one. All right. So the first bullish or bullshit here, the title is, you let me know what you think about this. No reading ahead. Google will integrate Chainlink, which is a cryptocurrency project, in their approach to smart contract adoption. What do you think? Is Google integrating a coin called Chainlink into their smart contract adoption.
I want to say I was surprised by Chainlink, then Google going together. But I mean, granted, it's hard for me to answer because I happen to see I cheated a little bit unintentionally. So yeah, I'm going bullish.
All right. I believe this title of the article to be bullshit, although it is a cool little thing that they have going on. So let's explain what's happening here. We always like to hear about Google and blockchain together. So what is actually happening? What I'll tell you is the reason I consider it bullshit is they're not actually doing anything. They're not actually integrating anything. They're not actually announcing plans to integrate anything. They just wrote a paper about how you could do some things with Ethereum and Chainlink.
Hold on,
so they didn't do it.
I sorry to interrupt, but I'm looking at the bullish or bullshit headline, and the headline is using very tricky language to make it seem like they are doing something very serious and very because it says Google will integrate Chainlink in their approach to smart contract adoption. When you see Google will integrate Chainlink, your brain shuts off. The average reader just sees that and is like, oh wow, Google's integrating Chainlink. It's like, no, not so fast. It's actually they're just going to be thinking about using Chainlink for smart contract adoption.
The actual correct title for this would have been Google writes paper about how Ethereum and Chainlink could work together. It would be a much more accurate piece. That's why we have to keep the media in check. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're saying, yeah, this was written a little bit tricky. It is tricky. This coin pumped 50% in an hour on this news today. And there was no reason for that. It had nothing to do with any actual adoption. They were just saying, here's some use cases for this. And here's why. Now, it is cool. There are some cool use cases, but nothing changed as of 2 days ago with Chainlink. It's not like they formed a partnership. And they're not claiming that, but they definitely were happy with the wording of this article and shared it. In fact, I think they used the exact wording in their tweet. So here's what it's actually...
Yeah.
What's actually happening is they are explaining a way to use Chainlink and the Ethereum blockchain and use the Chainlink D app and what it could be used for and why. So they came up with 3 cool use cases for the Chainlink. It's called something specific. It's called BigQuery, and it's an oracle, basically. So an oracle is a way to get information that you couldn't just program into code. So if I asked you who won the Warriors game tonight, you could tell me who won the Warriors game tonight very easily because you can interpret that information and be an oracle yourself. But the Ethereum blockchain can't tell me who won the game tonight. They have no way of knowing. But if they put out a function that says Warriors won game, true or false, and there was a trusted system for telling them true or false, then they could use that information on their blockchain and go with it. So an oracle is basically something that puts that information in a way that a computer program can understand. And that's what is happening here. So what are some of the use cases for that with Chainlink and Ethereum? Prediction markets, we see that with Augur and the rep system where the people act as oracles, choosing yes or no. Hedging bets against blockchain platform risk. So that's kind of incorporated there with the prediction markets, but basically they're saying you can find a way to bet on another blockchain in case the one that you developed your entire company on goes bust. And I think that's what they were saying.
Interesting.
And finally, this one, I read this and I was like, what? Enabling commit/reveals across Ethereum using submarine sends. So I read that and I'm like, how is that a summary of anything? That doesn't make any sense to me. So basically what a submarine send is a pseudo private option to send a transaction. It's a way to get a transaction out there, but not specifically disclose the contents of that transaction until it's already done. And the reason this matters is because inside of decentralized exchanges, what's happening is there's a process called front loading, which if you know how the blockchains work and you see trades being broadcast to the network on a decentralized exchange, and you know that there's only a certain amount of room on that block, you could just fill up the rest of the space with your own orders, knowing what they're going to be, almost like you're going back in time and executing and taking advantage of that order that was broadcast. So there's a couple other weird little ways you could take advantage of that, but basically it's a limitation of the blockchain, and it's why decentralized exchanges are having such a hard time catching on that, and they're difficult to use. So it rears its head biggest at ICO releases, when people really start messing with the chain, when these ICOs go off and they're not on any exchanges anywhere. So one thing I did like in the article, and that I do believe is pretty bullish. Now, the article itself is not. The article itself, the wording of the article is bullshit. But the quote from the article, and this was written by Google, is the decentralized finance movement is rapidly gaining adoption due to its successful reinvention of the existing financial system in blockchain environments, which, on a technical basis, are more trustworthy and transparent than current systems. So it's a pretty definitive statement. They weren't saying somebody else said it. They were saying the opinion of the writer of this piece who works for Google. It wasn't like just a guest blogger or something. That they think the finance movement is rapidly gaining adoption due to successful reinvention.
Yes, I mean, I can agree with that. I do think that you have to go a little bullish here, because this tweet was not by Chainlink. This tweet was from Google Cloud with 800K followers. It's not like, so clearly maybe the wording of the actual headline is a bit sensationalist, but they are definitely working with Google in some...
Kind of got you there a little bit. I didn't mean to get you, but the tweet was the title that I pulled. The title of Google's actual article is Building Hybrid Blockchain Cloud Applications with Ethereum and Google Cloud. So they're basically just showing how it can operate in the cloud. And they've said that. They're not saying they are building it. They're just, it's pretty clear inside of it how it works. But the tweet was the specific wording that I read there. So it's definitely a bullish thing for crypto. It is a bullshit thing for the tweet that Chainlink sent out.
Aha. So there we have it. I think that was a pretty good... we actually have one more bullish or bullshit.
Well, let's break it up. Why don't you tell us about some retail giant out there, and then I'll come back in with a bullish or bullshit.
Okay, so there was just an article that popped up very early on in the week, and it appears that Target has been quietly working on blockchain for supply chains. And now this isn't that big of a surprise, but it's nice to see. But what was funny is that you would think Target would be working on stuff like this, but we had not seen any tidbits about it. We've seen Walmart, we've seen, probably a lot of other companies. And yeah, so I guess Target has actually been working on blockchain within that space for about, I'd estimate, at least 3 years, because apparently they hired this guy who I'm definitely going to butcher his last name. It's Arthi Srinivasan. Yeah, forgive me for that, Arthi.
I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to pronounce that one.
Yeah,
Kareem would have made me do it. He would have stopped the whole show and made me do it.
I actually think I did a pretty good job for what it's worth. It's not the first time we've encountered that SRINI name at the end. And he was actually hired as director of product management for machine learning and blockchain. This was in 2016. And up until recently, they had not really publicized anything regarding blockchain. And funny enough, we mentioned Walmart was using the Hyperledger grid, which is IBM's supply chain framework. And I think Target has also started supporting that as well. So Target has pledged to support IBM's Hyperledger grid, which is a supply chain framework. And they're definitely... I wouldn't say that they're, pledging to support is far different than being a partner, but it does seem like that is something on the horizon. And I think we should be expecting a lot more from Target. It's good to see them in the blockchain space, because I was wondering, I'd say that as far as Walmart and goes, Target's probably not too far behind. And to be honest, I'd much rather shop at Target than Walmart by a lot. And
I pay the premium to go to Target, not to deal with Walmart people.
Yeah. And the Target's got some pretty good brands, solid brands, their own brands. And they've actually been seeking to hire a blockchain engineer, a systems developer on their career page. They're incorporating identity verification tech, which I assume at some point that'll be easily, or not easily, but nothing's really easily put on the blockchain, I'd say, at this point. But yeah, I think that they're starting to devote a lot more time and effort they're realizing, just like many of the other big companies, that we should be on the blockchain, doing more stuff in that.
Blockchain's here to stay. I think it's pretty clear, and a decentralized blockchain may not be here to stay. I believe it is, but what I do see is with IBM's Hyperledger or some of the other solutions, maybe like Cadena without the or their permission blockchain and that kind of thing, they're safe for a company. I promise you, Target doesn't really care about decentralization. They are up in the 1%. They can control whatever they want. They can lobby whoever they want. They don't have those moral reasons or those ideological reasons to care about decentralization. They care about good business practices. And blockchain supply chain management is a good business practice. IBM understands that, and they've created that with Hyperledger Grid. They've got a couple of pieces of that Hyperledger. I haven't done enough research on it to understand it. In fact, honestly, if any of our listeners have a contact at IBM that they could get out here, I'd love to do a Hyperledger 101 and learn about basically the biggest centralized blockchain company and see what they're doing. I know they have one chain that's either pseudo decentralized or actually decentralized. I don't know, but yeah, if you're a big company, why would you bother with all this? Everybody gets hacked. Everybody's got to go to DAOs and all this stuff. You just go with the easy thing. You pay some consultant $50,000. He tells you that IBM's Hyperledger is the play, and you go with them. That's how it works
for most of these. But yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of these businesses. They're just gonna go the route that's easiest and most profitable. And I don't want that to necessarily take away from, so it's not really adding to the market cap of all blockchains. IBM's is a privately owned, they don't have Hyperledger doesn't have a coin,
Right. Well, actually, I think they kind of have to have a native coin to do the transactions, but it doesn't necessarily have to have any value. Like maybe you purchase it from IBM, you purchase 100 million of their coins so that you can do 100 million computations or whatever the case. Like you go to MailChimp and you're allowed to email X contacts on your thing. I think it's probably similar. Blockchain and cryptocurrency are different. So cryptocurrency, things that increase the value of cryptocurrency increase the market cap. Things that increase adoption of blockchain don't directly increase the market cap, but if more things are on blockchain, then blockchain can interact with more things. So as these companies focus on interoperability, like Cardano is, then you have something that could directly increase the market cap, or at least the adoption of these things. If Cardano can be used on top of the same Hyperledger, just by deciding these Cardano coins are going to be part of a centralized blockchain or whatever, or something like Icon partners with it in some way, then you will have some sort of derivative value that goes towards the cryptocurrency market. Now, is that already built into the price? I don't know, probably. There's hype built into the price all the time. We just talked about a 50% increase in Chainlink because somebody worded a tweet trickily. But yeah, so it's all good. I don't hate on IBM for Hyperledger. I don't consider them like an evil company. I know Reddit hates them because they've had some bad experiences with firing employees and that kind of thing. But IBM knows what it's doing, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Reddit can be a fickle bunch, but I do think that IBM seems... this is now the second week in a row we've mentioned Hyperledger.
I can tell you that supply chains are a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with so many logistics problems at Wild Foods, and there's so much of your time as like if you were a logistics manager is calling people and figuring out where your shit is. Like they're like, oh yeah, we did this. Let me go talk to John over on receiving and see what he has to say. And you don't know where anything is, and then you find it and it's on the wrong truck or something like that. I mean, there definitely is place for improvement in supply chain logistics, especially like with the company I work for. There's mostly small suppliers, so they really don't have their shit together. So it's definitely rife for innovation.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good. I guess this actually became more a story on IBM Hyperledger, but either way, if it keeps popping up, we're going to keep talking about it. And now, Brent, would you like to talk about a country, a very small one? Go for it.
I feel like you guys might have talked about this on the last show. Did you talk about Liechtenstein?
I think Kareem mentioned like all the small countries except for Liechtenstein, even Marshall Islands or something.
Okay. So I didn't want to rehash something just in case. I didn't think we talked about it, but here's the title, Bullish or Bullshit. First, I want you to tell me whether you think it's bullish or bullshit, and then I want you to tell me your understanding of the title of the article without jumping ahead. A bank in Liechtenstein grew its traffic by 900% by selling cryptocurrencies.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. I'd say that's bullish.
Okay. And what is your understanding of that actual... Before you go into reading this article, what do you think it's going to say?
I think that it's just going to say that because they started offering all these cryptocurrencies, people started going there because it was one of the few places that actually, offered it. And it was clearly, a hot commodity. And yeah, I would think that Liechtenstein probably doesn't have that many places that have cryptocurrency access.
So I had a similar thought. So when I looked at this article, I was like, wow. So people grew their business by 9-fold by people coming there. And then you'll see that while this title of this article is bullish, they're not technically lying. The way it's presented makes you think of something else other than what's actually happening. So it's a little up in the air, but I'm leaning towards bullshit, and I'm going to show you why. First, let's talk about Liechtenstein, because I didn't know anything about it, so I want to know what's going on with this country. The first thing that I thought of when I heard of Liechtenstein was Heath Ledger, and he played the Ulrich von Liechtenstein in A Knight's Tale. Great movie. And I guess that's where he came from. I guess that's why they were able to get away with the fact that he wasn't really a lord for such a long time.
I did not know that.
It's a German-speaking country that's in between Austria and Switzerland, and it takes up a total area of 61.78 square miles and has 37,000 people. To put that into perspective for Americans, our smallest state is Rhode Island, and Rhode Island is 20 times the size of Liechtenstein. So this is essentially a city, and not even a particularly big city. Actually, it's a pretty big city, because it's 61 square miles would basically be 8 by 8 miles. So yeah, actually not even a particularly big city. 8 miles by 8 miles, basically. They have a lot of castles. Like if you Google Liechtenstein, there's pictures of castles all over the place. They have one of the highest GDPs per person in the world. So as I'm reading this stuff, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe it's just like they had a lot of money that wanted to go into cryptocurrencies and it was just waiting. So that kind of makes sense. But then I remembered, whenever these countries, or not countries, but online retailers implement pay with crypto, they get nobody doing it. Like even the crypto sites, like I remember Doug Polk saying he took crypto for his poker training site and nobody paid in crypto, even though they're using crypto on the online poker sites and he's a cryptocurrency influencer. He got almost nobody to ever use it.
Really?
So people aren't really using it for transactions. So I was wondering why people would flock to a bank for investments or whatever. So the reason they had such a high GDP is they used to be like a tax haven for billionaires. The billionaires used to go there because of their tax purposes. It's not like that anymore. They have gotten more integrated. They're a member of the UN, and their currency is the Swiss franc. So I thought maybe their currency would suck or something. It would be like the Lichtenberger coin, or Liechtenstein coin, Lichtenberger, and that people might not want whatever their local currency is. And I thought, well, let's see if they're on the euro, but they're on the Swiss franc, which is a fine, stable currency. So it's not that. So I was wondering, like, what happened? So I started to read the article. The company's name is Bank Frick.
What the frick?
I love the name. Yeah, like what the frick is going on here? And March of last year, they started offering crypto to professional traders and financial consulting customers. They only did Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, Ethereum Classic, NEM, Qtum, and Stellar. They could only make one transaction per day for their investors. They held everything in cold storage. So they literally, if you were making a transaction, they would go get your cold storage for you. It's not like you had your keys, but they would go get your cold storage, do the transaction, and then go put it back so that it was like in a box or something like that. They weren't really taking it out. And now they're creating a subsidiary called DLT Markets, where they're going to be doing more active trading. So you'll be able to do more than one a day, and it'll be kind of like, you know, our standard exchange custodial style stuff. So here's the 900. I finally got to the 900% part. After all that, I was like, what is this 900%? Like, what's going on? They had 900% more website visits. That's the traffic that the article's title is talking about.
Oh,
it's not talking
come
about
on.
foot traffic to the place.
Man.
And we're not talking about a lot of traffic. It's not like they were getting 50,000 views and they went up to, you know, 9 times that and went to 45,000. They were getting 120 page visits per day, and they went up to 1,250 at their peak. And it's not like they maintained that. They just
Journalists are so clever these days with their headlines. It's whack.
Here's what's happening. People are posting articles that say a bank in Liechtenstein is doing crypto, and people are going to look at it. And that's all that's happening, because like we get more downloads than this company is getting visits to their site. Like if we release a big episode, then we get a lot more downloads. Like when we had Peter McCormick on the show, we got significantly more downloads than we normally would. Did I go out there and be like, the Crypto Basic Podcast grew 900% this month in listeners versus last? No. So I guess it's technically true. Like they did increase their traffic by 900%, but it should have said website traffic. It should have been very clear that was not foot traffic, that was not transactions, that was not people, that was not people investing in them, it wasn't coin cap, none of that stuff.
Man, this makes me really like, I kind of want to rant a little bit, because think about how tough it is for me and you reading articles to decipher what the article is sometimes. You see traffic, you think, okay, well, maybe that means volume. No, it doesn't mean volume. It means literal website traffic. They just submitted website. But then think about the people that are way older than us, the baby boomers. You know, they're just on. I saw it today. There was a guy that posted, it was a friend's dad on Twitter. He was like, wow, I want to go on this amusement ride. But it was you watched it, and it was clearly just some absurd, you know, a mock-up, you know, an animation that they made look as real as possible, and it was clearly not real. And the way that the physics of the people that were moving on this amusement ride were not possible. It just looked like
it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, and it actually Barstool posted it the other day, and it was like they should never make a real thing like this, because it was just like, picture the Seattle, that needle, and then picture it just space like needle. Contracting, the Space Needle, and going up and down real fast, and then there are people hanging from it, and it was like, okay, this is clearly not real, you know, but these people think it's real, and it's like, okay, that's great. So you think that's real. What else do you think is real? Do you think Trump? Do you think this? Do you think that? Good luck trying to get them to integrate themselves into anything cryptocurrency related. And good luck them thinking that something is a legit link when it probably says not secure in red letters, but they didn't notice that. So I don't know. This just made me think about long-term implementation with a lot of people, or with just like the masses. And it's definitely a little worrisome, especially as AI gets way better. Whose fault?
Fucking Facebook. That's whose fault it is, because they can look at these articles. They don't have to click on them. They're rolling through their news feed. And there's been studies that show that people who read just the headlines of the articles tend to believe that they know more about the political climate than those that say that they read the entire article. I think they're I'm actually making that up, though. Like, fact check me on that. But there's a study somewhere that shows a correlation between just reading the titles of the articles and thinking you know more than you do in Dunning-Kruger. Yeah. So it's brutal. That's why I really try to go into these. And what's funny is both of those, I wrote bullish or bullshit before I went into them, because the titles set off red flags to me. I was like, there's no way they went up 900% in business. That doesn't make any sense. I know what crypto does when you integrate it. It does nothing. Like, it might increase 0.5% if you really get the community involved or something like that. You know? So it's just brutal. Anyway, that's the end of that one and my mini Facebook second rant. I'm going to talk about one more thing before I talk about another thing, which is personal.
So you're talking about two things.
This thing, yeah, I'm talking about one thing that's important, and then you can tune out of the show if you don't want to hear me cry about my personal life. Although it's an interesting cry. So CoinMarketCap has launched a Data and Accountability Transparency Alliance. They call it DATA. I mean, I guess that makes sense. Remember Bitcoin 2 from last week that you guys were like, what is Bitcoin 2?
Yeah, I remember that. And so, Brent, what is Bitcoin 2? Please tell me.
I don't know. have no idea what Bitcoin 2 is, but I know that they were basically on just 2 super shitty exchanges, and those exchanges had a ton of fake volume. So they just like made Bitcoin 2 appear in the top 100 of CoinMarketCap. And that's a problem. We've talked about other solutions that mitigate that. We've talked about like on-chain FX, where they have an entire rating for the different exchanges and their fake volume and that kind of thing. It looks like those other options are putting some pressure on CoinMarketCap, or CoinMarketCap's just moving slower because it's a bigger company. And they've created this data accountability and transparency alliance. It's kind of annoying that it's called data and the first word is data.
We've definitely covered this on the show a few weeks ago. I think it was.
Yeah, we covered something similar.
No, we talked about CoinMarketCap's 50th year anniversary, and we talked about data, but it hadn't actually been enacted yet.
Okay. Well, it's not really enacted yet either.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of people have joined up.
That was just the day that they announced it. So now we're okay. Now we have companies announcing it. Got it.
Here's the companies that are signed up, and some of these names are going to raise some eyebrows. We've got Binance, Bittrex, Liquid, IDEX, OKEX, Wobi, HitBTC, Upbit, KuCoin, Bitfinex, OceanEX, Bythumb or BitHum, Bancor, Gate.io, Bbox, Hacken, Exmo, CoinFloor, BitTrue, Switcheo, Midas Protocol, Crypto Briefing, and Flipside Crypto. A couple of those I think they're just news outlets, but there's definitely a lot of decentralized exchanges in there, which makes sense because you can verify what's going on a decentralized exchange nice and easy. But you've also got Bitfinex, you've got KuCoin, you've got HitBTC. All of those are dubious exchanges in my opinion. HitBTC is extremely dubious, and KuCoin maybe not as much. They've definitely set up some red flags. They're like partnered with Ian Polina at some point.
I think KuCoin's gotten a little better, but Bitfinex and HitBTC, I'd definitely get on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't use any of them or any of those 3 that I mentioned. And I don't know enough about some of these other ones to say whether I'd use them or not. And it appears that what this is going to be like a council of some kind. And there are some goals here. The number one goal is they want them all to use a standard API across all platforms. Of course, they want them to use CoinMarketCap's API, which they charge for now. So that's an interesting way to shove your product down somebody's throat. Twice yearly, they want to have a roundtable panel, basically, with everybody and talk about updates to their transparency policy. They want to fund different proof of concept prototype projects from this, and I guess the representatives from each of these exchanges is going to vote towards that. That's all we know for now. They're going to release more information as they get it, or maybe as they even figure it out. But what's happening here is they're catching up to some of the other pieces of the crypto puzzle who have put some pressure on them to do things. Now, remember, CoinMarketCap has definitely made some stumbles over the course of their history. While the entire community is telling them to delist or get rid of BitConnect off of their thing so that it wasn't showing, not only were they not getting rid of it, but they're running ads for BitConnect.
Yeah, well, getting paid too much. Yeah, that's too bad.
One of the primary reasons that I'm so careful about where any of our possible revenue streams from the podcast come from. And we spoke with Luke from CoinMarketCap when we were in Thailand. And Luke was a great guy, and he had a lot of great things to say about this and about the company. And he was explaining that, like, they got paid a lot of money by BitConnect, and by the time they figured out that they were a scam, they had already gotten all the bad press from it, but they did take them down. They were shilling HitBTC, but not making it super clear that it was an ad, and they also fixed that. And I can thank the organizer of that conference for seeing that I was talking to Luke and then coming over and saying, hey, Brent hates CoinMarketCap, you should talk to him about that, and then walking away. But they've gotten better. And they're doing a little bit better as a representative for the space and as the primary representative for the space. But I don't know that this is the right way to go. Like, I don't know that giving some of these exchanges that have a really dubious trust rating a vote at the table of what is, I guess, you know, the Knights of the Round Table of exchanges and stuff.
We'll see. CoinMarketCap is still a business, so we got to see how it goes. Like, they're still trying to make money, and they'll take money from these people.
I'm kind of in between. I don't really know how it goes. I don't know how this is going to go. I do know there are better options out there. I try to remember to use some of the other options when I'm looking for prices so that I can get a good understanding of what my portfolio looks like. But many times I just default to typing CoinMarketCap into Google. It's just muscle memory at this point. And I feel like a lot of people are on that same page.
I like CoinCap better, but I still just use CoinMarketCap more. And the search feature doesn't work. I just tried it. Like if I type in a coin out of the top 100, it just doesn't find it. I have to. And
interesting.
It's just so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mac, iPhone problems. You don't know what to do with that, but. I guess that is maybe foreshadowing for you, but
God, yes. Maybe a little bit of foreshadowing there. Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see.
We've got some massive delay on this. We might be talking over each other a little bit when this finally gets released. I think we're on it's like a full 3-second delay. It's kind of crazy.
Wow. Well, we'll see how CoinMarketCap does with this. I feel like they're making attempts to go in the right direction. Or no, they're still good. I feel like they're, positive light. Not every company can be perfect. And, we'll see how it goes. This seems like a positive thing for the space overall.
Yep, I agree. It could be positive, should be positive, and hopefully those that become members will make it positive. Or it could be negative. I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep you covered. We'll keep you up to date. Maybe I can. Maybe I'll reach out to Luke. Oh, I lost his contact information because I lost my. Damn it! Lost my Telegram. All right. Well, hopefully the person who stole my Telegram doesn't figure that out. Okay. So, as you were alluding to, the rest of this episode is going to be nonsense about me getting hacked again. So, if you don't want to hear about that, that's it. You can quit now. But as happened a couple of months ago, I was hacked, and I was hacked again, Adam.
Come on, Brent. Just get an iPhone. Get an iPhone. Actually, that doesn't matter. I guess it's more just get off of T-Mobile,
Yes. So I've been a big proponent of T-Mobile. I've really been happy with their service a lot of times. I liked some of the things that they were doing. I have been growing more and more weary and upset with them as they go on. John made a lot of great changes in that company, and I think he's either resting on his laurels or we're running into a lot of Peter principles at this company. But I got the notification that my SIM card was changed again. So I was SIM cloned, and I know this is happening a lot, but last time they had at least hacked my email, and I understand how it happened. They used an old email that I completely forgot about, to be honest. Like, it was basically a spam email, like, that was original, and they hacked that because it had a really shitty password. And they used that to get my SIM card changed because they said, oh, send it to my old email. And it was still in the account, I guess. So they sent it to there and swapped out the SIM. Now, nothing happened. They didn't get any of my shit. So the first time I stopped them, I have really pretty good security. I mean, please don't take that as a challenge in any way. And honestly, you'd be really disappointed if you found out how much crypto I actually have. But this time was a little bit different. So this time it turns out, well, I'll just tell you what happened. I was sitting here and I had just finished up my interview with IOST, and I get a notification that my SIM card had been changed. And I'm like, come on. So I start freaking out. I start doing my reverse hacking and trying to stop the hacker, right? So the first thing they try to get into is my Authy. So clearly they're going after exchanges, which some exchanges only used Authy when I signed up for them. Like Gemini didn't have another option. And I think the other one, Uphold, didn't have another option. They both do now, so I'm off of that shit now. Authy is shit. Don't use Authy ever. And they were able to get into that pretty quickly because they have my phone number now. But I was able to re-get them out of it. And then they got into my Telegram. Now I was able to basically blow up my Telegram and stop them from logging on. But at the same time, it's attached to my phone number. And by the end of the story, I've changed my number. So I get on with T-Mobile support. Honestly, at some point, this rep was so bad that I felt like I called a scam. I felt like I called a scammer, and I was being like, "Oh yeah, just let me log into your computer here. It's gonna be fine." So I literally even asked the person, I'm like, "How can you prove to me that you're a T-Mobile rep? Like, at this point, I feel like I'm getting scammed because you're doing such a bad job at this." So they transferred me to somebody else, and they sent me an email that showed that I wasn't getting scammed, right? So I basically tell them, like, I don't want to switch back to my old SIM. Shut down both SIMs, shut down the number, put a note in the account to not let that account be unlocked unless I show up with 2 forms of ID. And they do. They put all those notes in there and they lock the account. So when I go to sleep, my phone number is shut down and I have no active SIM card, which I'm fine with. There's a T-Mobile store around the corner. I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go right there, and I'm going to give them 2 forms of ID. I wake up to a message saying that a new SIM card's been added to my phone. And it happened about a half hour before I woke up. It was my old SIM card. They added it back to the phone. So I get a hold of a T-Mobile rep on Twitter, and I'm like, what is going on? This shouldn't be happening. And they said, oh yeah, our fraud team went ahead and added that back to your account after they did an audit, and they think it's fine. I'm like, what do you mean it's fine? Both SIM card numbers are sitting in an email. It's been plain text. I don't know where that goes through. Like, that can't be secure. I don't want that SIM card attached there anymore. And I'm like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. You got to go into the store. It's like, well, I'm on my way to the store. I'm texting and driving right now with you on here. But yeah, I get to the store and they can see all the notes and all that stuff. They do, to their credit, ask me for 2 forms of ID. And while I'm there, I'm just like, okay, let's swap the SIM card out. They can't even do it right away. They got to send an email to support or to fraud department, who needs to like wait a couple hours and get it back to them, because they thought they were doing a good thing by making it so that the SIM card couldn't be swapped and then putting my old one back on there. So it turns out it was a guy who came into a store and did this. It's not even just like somebody called a call center until they got an idiot that let them do it. This person walked into a store and put their iPhone on my account.
Wow.
In Ohio. And they clearly knew that I was involved in crypto, because I feel like Authy and Telegram being number 1 and number 2 targets is pretty crypto related, right? So end result is I blew that number up. It's gone. I've removed that number from it took me hours and hours and hours, but I've removed that number from every single account that I've ever had. So it doesn't exist anywhere anymore. It completely doesn't exist. I switched to a new number, and so I've had that number. I text, the last 30 people that I've texted, right? You got a text this morning saying, got hacked, here's my new number. Well, within 3 hours of having that number, I'm getting calls from debt collectors asking for like some name that I can't pronounce. All 3 of them. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, come on. So I've gotten 3 debt collectors calls in 2 hours. I also logged on to WhatsApp, and I had like a bunch of what looked like you would expect one of those Nigerian prince scammer WhatsApps to look like. Like, their profile is like a huge opportunity and all this stuff. And they've got like just a picture of like the side of their face like this. And yeah, so we got rid of that number. We had that number for about 2 hours and then got a new one. So that was my story of getting hacked again.
There you go.
And this time I was proud of some of my friends.
I hope you don't get hacked ever again, so I don't have to sit through another story of that.
I also hope I don't get hacked ever again. I don't want to tell that story. I don't like telling that story. It's not a good story. My friends, though, when I sent a message, copy pasted to everybody that said, I was hacked, this is my new number. A bunch of friends responded with, prove it. And I did. They probably aren't happy with the pictures that they got back, but I did prove it, and I am proud of those friends for taking the extra step to verify who I was.
You should always be doing that. I got into the habit of that playing poker online, because Poker Stars, you would ask for a transfer, and then they would be like, but sometimes people's Skypes, someone would hit a dumb link, AIM, whatever it was. Yes, AIM Instant Messenger. You would get
Fish got hacked on AIM.
Fish got hacked. Everyone.
Guy got thousands.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would just ask a very random, odd question that only they would know, or it would like an inside joke, And so you really just have to always stay vigilant and stay on top of things. And honestly, crypto's tough, because this is the thing. This is going back to talking about, it's just not safe out there, really. There's pitfalls at a lot of places. There's some places that look like websites that you think seem safe, but it's actually you just sending someone like your private key or something. You have to just be really careful about everything. I can't trust that enough. Have secure passwords. And hopefully Brent doesn't have to deal with this again. Hopefully he gets rid of T-Mobile and never uses Authy ever again. SMS text is bad news.
It is. Listen to our Privacy 101 if you're interested in learning more about this. I followed the steps that I followed in Privacy 101. They didn't get anything either time. The only thing that is possibly, and I haven't checked, is that neither one of us may have access to my Telegram, which, whatever, is better than the alternative. I don't really use Telegram for much anyways. What those friends did get, though, by Adam, there's a Japanese steakhouse in Vegas called Musashi. It's my favorite teppanyaki style place that I've ever been to. And, if you've been to like Benihana and think what good Japanese hibachi teppanyaki style stuff is, you're wrong. Benihana sucks. Don't go to them anymore. They although Rocky Aoki's pretty cool, or was, he's dead, right? Anyway, he was pretty cool. Is he dead? I don't even know. Anyway,
Yes.
what part of their show is that they put this giant dildo on the table and like put some sauce on it, and they're like, "Oh, lick it off" or whatever, and it's funny. Well, the picture that all my friends got was
I can actually confirm that this is true for bachelor parties. They do that for, I mean, I'm closing my eyes here because it's just like, yes, Brent, yeah, you're right. It is technically true. And also for bachelorette parties, they will actually make a vagina out of rice.
Yes.
Just to, yeah, like they do everything. It's an adventure. It's pretty fun if you're in Vegas and you want something off the beaten path, for sure.
It is really good. And they don't always do it. Like, they do it for, if they know you're like a group of poker players that's been there a million times, they don't really do it. But we asked because one of our friends in the group hadn't done it, and I was like, "Hey, can we have like the big dessert?" And I did this thing with my hand, and he was like, "Oh, you want the big dessert? All right." And then they went in the back and got it. So the picture that all my friends got for verification was a picture of me holding it. So it was, they probably regret asking for verification, so now all of a sudden they're not going to do it anymore. But I am proud of them for doing it nonetheless.
I think this seems like a great time to end the podcast. One of the very few podcasts maybe ever to end but on a story about a massive dildo at a teppanyaki place. I mean, that doesn't really happen very often.
At a teppanyaki place. I mean, we've had Spank Chain and one of the Spank Chain models on the show, so I'm not saying that we've never talked about dildos, but yes, this is the first time we've combined them with teppanyaki.
I agree. And do want to say thank you for listening. Also, that you should check out our Patreon. You're keeping us it's definitely very helpful. You can go into Patreon, donating a little bit. We really appreciate it. And Brent, you want to explain about the engine tokens?
Patreon members, if you want and you ask for it, I will post that picture on Patreon.
There we go.
Sending my friends for verification.
Now that's yes. I mean, I feel like I need to donate to that as well. Like I want to see that. I've never seen the picture. There you go.
But if you ask for it, it's coming out there. And also, if you're in Patreon, you get a cool little engine token. The first time you end up being charged for your monthly contribution, you get a little engine token. It's got 5 engine that you can melt it down for 5 engine, but don't keep it because it's a little keepsake and it's got our logo on it, and we're never making any more. So we only made 100 of them. We've given out I think somewhere around 20 of them. So somewhere in there we have, I think, 30 patrons, but not everybody is claiming theirs. So if you haven't claimed yours, what's going on? Claim it. And yeah, there's a couple other little perks. I try to put little funny things on there every now and then, little behind the scenes things if I can. So check out Patreon and help us out, help us stay afloat, and keep it basic. Finally, we are not financial advisors. Anything we said is just for entertainment. If you were wondering whether or not these idiots talking about teppanyaki sex toys had any idea what was going on in a cryptocurrency market, you now know that they don't. So you need to do your own research. You need to figure it out. All investments have inherent risk, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Please consult a financial professional. And that's it.
See you guys.
Follow us on Twitter. Join our Discord.
At Ruthless, at Cryptobasicpod, at Brentity. I forget Kareem's. But yeah, just
He's
follow
Dr.
us.
Run Good, but he never posts.
Dr. Run Good. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Well, until next week, see you guys.
All right, thanks, everybody.